and welcome. Happy New Year and happy new podcast. Here we are, or Podfast as we're calling it. This is a brand new adventure for us both. This is Modena to Maranello, featuring everything Ferrari Motorsport. And I'm Toby, and all the way up there in Birmingham is...
Hi guys, I'm Paul. Good. Thanks for listening, and good to see you all. And I hope you enjoy the podcasts we've got coming forward this year. We're going to start the first one ever with the Ferrari film, which is obviously main, of course, for discussion at the moment with no live motorsport at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a good off-season topic. And all right, let's get into the Michael Mann movie, Ferrari. Okay, so I don't think either of us are particularly good movie critics. I've never done it before. I don't know about you, Paul, but it's always worth a bash. Let's give it a go. So I was just wondering what people's perceptions were before they watched it, what they thought of the actors, the casting, the director, Michael Mann, and just wondering what they were expecting to see before they went, due to the trailers, or certainly there's a lot of anticipation coming into this time. So I was just wondering, what do you think, Paul? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard there was going to be a Ferrari film, I thought great. But always films take a long time to produce, so you sort of leave it for a while knowing it's not going to come out. Don't get too excited too soon. Originally, I just thought maybe it's about his life from a child through to his death. And then you put me on the right step about, well, that's going to take a lot of hours to put all that together, how influential this guy was through his life. So that was my first feeling from his childhood, what he was like when he was a child, possibly in a school playground where everyone's playing football and he's sort of running around pretending to be a race car. Obviously in school, just drawing cars and thinking about cars all the time. So that's my first perception.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people...
Sorry, yeah. More of a bio. You were expecting like a documentary.
Just my first
bio.
thoughts, it was just going to be a whole thing about Enzo from
his life.
Not really overly thinking about it, but that was my first initial thoughts. I think a lot of people's thoughts were probably going to see a lot of racing and cars.
Yes.
We know that's a little bit different in this film from Michael Mann, the director. Well, how about yourself? What were your sort of
I think pretty much the same. I was just hoping it wasn't as bad as the Lamborghini movie, because that was hideous. The new one is just awful. So I didn't, as long as it beat that, which I just hoped it did. And I think it does. That was my biggest thing. I didn't know the time period. And a bit like yourself, if it was going to do that, it had to be good, because you can't cram somebody's life like that into 2 hours. You just can't do it, or anybody's life that's that successful. So, but as the trailers came out, I realized that it was about a specific time period. It was, that 56, 57 period. And that once that was in my mind, I knew, of course, that's such a historic time, and so I think it was good. I think it was it met my expectations. I didn't expect anything more.
Going back to originally, Michael Mann wanted to start production on this film in 1993, which is a long time ago. Which is obviously a few years or so after Enzo's unfortunate death. So he obviously must have given time to mourn and respect, and then thought, well, we need to do a movie about this guy. But obviously it never happened, never materialized, and he's obviously had it in his head for all these years. He needs to do a Ferrari film.
Right. What did you think about the casting, though? I mean, because I think you mentioned the other day that De Niro was up for this originally.
I was told that Christian Bale was a possibility, who obviously did Le Mans '66, Ford versus Ferrari, playing Ken Miles. There was also talk about Hugh Jackman, and also Robert De Niro was which I heard about a few years ago, that he was going to be doing the role. which would have
I
been,
mean,
I
that would
think,
have been
would have been awesome,
fantastic.
wouldn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so.
It
Yeah.
was, it was quite a, I'm not a big movie fan, but he's one of my, he's up there with some of the films I like. So that would have
Right.
been great. But
Yeah.
Adam Driver, not heard a lot about him because I say I'm not a big movie fan.
Mm.
But
He
I
seems to
think he
be
did a
the
really good.
Italian.
Yeah,
He played Gucci, didn't he, as well?
yeah, that's
So
right. Yeah, yeah,
he seems to be the Italian actor at the moment. Although
yeah.
didn't he do a Star Wars movie? I think he was one of the guys in a Star Wars. But I'm
I'm
not
sure
really
he
a
was. Yeah, but I'm
big
sure
Star
someone
Wars
else will
person,
tell
but
us that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, I think he did a great job in the film.
Mm.
I
Mm.
think he did a great Enzo,
Yep.
um, personally. And moving on to his wife, Laura.
Mm.
Penelope Cruz was absolutely out of this world, I felt, as Laura.
Good cast. Yeah, yeah, it was good. Yeah, I thought she was stunning, but incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Powerful performance, and
Yeah, powerful
it's
performance, I think,
it.
is the word. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just you don't often see women portrayed that well. I mean, as a character, as a
Yeah.
powerful, empowering
Yeah.
character like that, you don't. They're often just sort of pushed
Yeah.
aside a little bit. But I think in more recent times, people are starting to understand that behind every great man is a even
Yeah.
greater woman.
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely. Yeah. Which need that
we
support and
yeah,
that
absolutely.
when coming home, I'm sure Enzo came home from work and he'd had a bad day, and you need someone there to support you to go again the next day, to be able
100%.
to sort of
Yeah.
like give you that positivity and yeah,
Hmm.
get up the next day and
Yeah.
go again and support. So yeah,
Yeah. I
fantastic.
think it
Yeah.
was fun to see Patrick Dempsey in it too, because I'd actually forgotten he was in it. So
Yes.
when he suddenly turned up, I'm like, oh, of course, but it took me a little bit to forget that it was Patrick Dempsey. What it
Yeah.
wasn't Patrick Dempsey I was looking at. It was kind
Yeah.
of it was, I don't know, it took me by surprise. Even though I
Yeah.
did know it, I was like, oh yeah, of course he's in this.
No,
But
I think it was great. It was in. He did a great job as well, and it was great to see a Ferrari stalwart, as in Mark Genet, gave a little guest appearance.
Mark Janae weren't racing.
He weren't
He weren't
racing.
acting.
He
He weren't
weren't doing any
acting.
racing, but he was
He weren't
yeah,
acting.
just in the backyard, moving a
That's
few
right.
parts.
Yeah.
So
It's
no,
Mark
it was good.
Janae. You've got to have Mark Janae.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's one of the most beloved people in the team, isn't he, these days? So absolutely.
So I
But
think
yeah,
in
that's
terms
cool.
of going back to the acting, I think
Mm.
it was a great cast. I think Michael Mann put a great cast together.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about so like maybe your reactions or what you're expecting. What were you expecting? Obviously, we knew it was that time period. Did it meet your expectations as far as did you get all the detail you wanted from that, or did you think it missed anything out?
No, I think he got most of the detail that was required. Obviously, he was having difficulty in his marriage, as you could see.
Mm.
He'd obviously got his mistress and his son, um, which was obviously very quiet, and not known. And then there was the loss of his son Dino the year before, which obviously was still mourning. And then, as Enzo is obviously a big racer. It's all about the racing, um, and basically the business was struggling. Wasn't making enough production cars to meet
Yeah.
the costs of racing, especially there at that time as well. It's the importance of you winning as well to sell cars. That was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
important. Um,
Mm.
so
It's
he had a
it,
lot going on. He had a lot going on in his head.
yeah.
I said he was trying to balance his marriage and his
Hmm.
other life,
Double life
loss of
for
his
sure,
son,
100%. Yeah.
and trying to run this
Yeah.
company without it going under, which would have
Hmm.
really hit him hard because that was his life, wasn't it? At the end of the day,
Well, that's it. It's funny. I was talking to someone yesterday, um, and they were saying that Ferrari is a car company, like a production car company, and I was saying, well, it's not. Like it was never started like that. It was Enzo is a racer, and he started a race team, and the production cars were just there to pay for the racing,
yeah,
and it was like, oh, really? I didn't realize that. So you're absolutely right. Like if had the racing had to stop, it would have absolutely, devastated him. So he lived for it. That was his passion. That was his life.
Yeah, and also I don't
No,
think he could cope with someone above him. He had to be the main man.
no,
He had to be in control.
yeah,
And it would have really, a bit like a Sir Frank Williams, Ken Tyrrell,
yeah.
these guys who sort of, it was their company, their life, their business. They just could not have,
Hard
so
work, sweat, blood,
difficult to
sweat, and
be,
tears.
yeah, they just couldn't let someone else take it on and then just be part of the workforce. They would
No,
have just
no.
felt too weak. They
and
wanted
that's
that
and that's
power.
why they absolutely and they was that's why it was so great, because they had those visions and they had to execute them as they saw them, without compromise, without
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
else getting their foot in the door, and chipping
yeah.
in.
Which is obviously so different now because you can't cope in that way in motorsport anymore. You've got to be in a company, finance, different people involved in different areas. But obviously, that era was
Yeah.
all about one man, and that
Mm.
was they were going to run it how they wanted to run it,
Yeah.
and they gave their
I
life
mean,
to it.
having said that, it was interesting in this movie for me because I think it was the first time where I'd actually seen Enzo portrayed, not like a real evil robot. It's this sort of cold-hearted dictator. There was a
Yeah,
human side to him which was
yeah, yeah,
portrayed. Yeah, I think Michael Mann was quite conscious of bringing that out, or it felt like it anyway on screen. He was a man who had a lot of feelings about his family, and the loss of his son. I mean, that I think everyone knows that he was just,
yeah.
you know, devastated by this, of course, in his life. But I mean, the other things in his life, he did care about both of his relationships, and his company, and the way he would speak to the drivers. Like it was,
Yeah,
he was
and you can
passionate.
tell
It wasn't just this robotic kind of,
yeah.
you know, guy. So,
And he definitely cared about his drivers. He didn't want to see them get hurt or obviously
of course
killed.
not.
He was
Yeah.
definitely would have felt it with anyone who died, which they did obviously in his cars or got injured. And he definitely had the heart was there, and
Yes.
he felt it. He
Yeah.
definitely felt
100%.
it. But
Yeah. 100%.
as the film portrayed, and that he couldn't just give in because he got a workforce, and there were people
Mhm.
there that were obviously dedicated
Livelihoods.
to the
People are
job,
depending.
and they got families and they had to
Mm.
provide, and he just couldn't just suddenly close the door on it. He had to keep going and try and
100%.
make it as safe as he can. So no,
Mm.
definitely shows the portrayal of yeah, a good guy, which sometimes
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't see out there.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, so we've heard a lot about the movie, and I've certainly spoken to many people that have seen the movie. Uh, I've seen it twice. Paul, I think you've seen it twice as well.
Yeah, yeah. In
Um,
succession of two
so
days.
yeah, great. Yeah, that's right. You did. Yeah, back to back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, before we talk about our reactions to it, I was just trying to think about other people's reactions. So, and interestingly enough, quite negative. Um, I've heard people that aren't that into it. They don't like it because they thought there would be more racing involved, or they thought it would be more of a bio movie. Whether they didn't see the trailers or didn't read it before, that it was going to be a specific time period, I don't know. Um, so I've actually got a quote here to read out from I'm going to call our Italian correspondent, and I'm paraphrasing here. So Mr. Sunta Corrado, and she has sent us a less favourable review, shall we say? And I cannot express how big of a Ferrari fan she is, in every aspect. So I have this is translating, so the language is a little different, but nonetheless, she says, you could say that as a passionate eye, the film did not meet my expectations, and that it did not devote the story to what she was expecting. Instead, it was more to do with the two women in his life, and cutting out a large slice of history with that. And she says, Sunta says that basically she preferred the 2003 release, and would advise anyone who hasn't seen this movie to go and watch it instead. So I mean, that's quite interesting. I've also heard a lot of other people say that they were also expecting more out of the racing side of it. Um, so like I said, I'm not sure. As far as I'm concerned, I knew what I was getting into. I knew that this was that time period, and there was so much going on, which we've talked
Yeah,
about. And so I kind of knew that. But maybe I can see that if you're going in there expecting to see racing cars and you just see this love story, effectively, it could be a problem. So, what do you think?
yeah. I think I totally agree with what she said. Some people are going to look at that view of the film, and yeah,
Hmm.
that's a very fair point. Um, but yeah, I agree. Some people I've spoke to generally felt I wanted to see more cars and more racing and more
Yeah,
noise, and that's what they're
yeah,
expecting being Ferrari. Um,
sure.
and I think you need to enjoy the film. I think you do definitely need to have an understanding of what you're going to watch, not just go in there not knowing what's going on, what to expect. I
Yeah.
think that's important to sort of to understand it and enjoy it.
Hmm.
But there would probably be definitely people I felt that would have gone to the cinema and sat there and thinking, wow, we're just seeing a man and a woman arguing a lot, and this, that, and the other. Thinking, I don't,
Right.
what's going on here? What's this all about?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
expecting to see Formula One and
Hmm. I
all
think
that sort of
also,
thing.
I think it depends on you know, you and I were talking about this the other day, but we all come from or to Ferrari from different places, from everywhere. So some people get into the cars, some people get into the racing, some people, they just love the name, whatever it is, or the passion about it, or Enzo himself. There's always we come at it in from different areas, different places, for different reasons at different times, and so I think that also plays into how much you expect to see in a movie.
Yeah,
The name, what does that mean? Ferrari and Enzo means so much to us all, but in different ways. And so I think that may also play into how you view this movie. If you're a big passionate racing Enzo fan, then maybe this isn't for you, But if you're
yeah,
interested in a bit of the storyline, a section
yeah,
of history, then I
yeah,
think this is for you. And I think it's incredibly well shot. I think the scenes are beautiful. It was
yeah,
wonderful to see scenes, in Maranello, and in Modena, obviously, and surrounding areas. It was great to recognize some of those places
yeah,
and see them
yeah,
on the film. So to me, it sort of touched my heart, and I knew what to expect. But I, it's impossible to fit a guy's life like that into 2 hours. So it was
no, no, no,
a time shot,
yeah.
Um,
And I think
but
people got to understand that it's a movie, not a documentary. So there's going to be
yeah,
certain bits within it that are a little bit stretched and maybe not
yeah,
true. But
artistic
it's a
license,
movie.
if you will.
Yeah,
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 artistic license that has to be done for movies. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I can see why people say this isn't historically accurate and this
yeah.
didn't happen or that didn't take place there. I get that, but I mean, every movie you go and see has got that in it.
It's the same. Yeah. So you've got to be a little bit more. Yeah, look at that in a different light. Definitely, it's a
Yeah.
movie. It's trying to get
Mhm.
more people engaged in it that maybe don't know the history.
Sure. Which is
So
very, which I 100% understand is incredibly difficult if you're
yeah,
incredibly passionate
yeah,
about a
yeah,
particular subject or a particular person or whatever it is, and suddenly it's not what you want to see on screen. There are movies that I've seen. Absolutely, I look at and I go, that's just not right. We can't have it like that. But so I respect everyone's opinion on this massively.
yeah, yeah.
So, but anyway, so after this, we're going to re-rating it. I think. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah,
We give it some.
absolutely. Yeah,
Give it our, you know, professional new podcast rating. What do you think, mate?
yeah, absolutely. That's coming soon.
So it's time for our prancing horses. How many prancing horses out of 10 would you give this, Paul? The Michael Mann movie,
Yeah,
Ferrari.
I'm sort of I was tied between 8 or 9 out of 10. But I'm going to give it a 9. Um,
Nine prancing horses.
9 prancing horses. Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
Is that
good
like
script.
my? So we're talking like Michael and Barrichello here, or are we talking what are we talking? Where's the nine here? Yeah. Or is it more of a Mika Salo and Eddie Irvine vibe going?
Yeah, yeah, probably. I think a bit of a Charles Leclerc here.
Okay,
Not
all right.
perfect, not perfect, but definitely up there and
Good looking.
good to
Yeah.
watch. Yeah, good.
Okay, yeah, I think I nine it'll be eight for me, I think.
Yeah,
So I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I love the scenery. I love the location shoot. I love the racing scenes that were there, I thought were fantastic. Incredibly graphic, especially the crash scene, of course.
yeah,
But
very disturbing
I
near the end, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah, but I think it was necessary to
yeah.
demonstrate why that race isn't happening, or that
Oh,
was the
yeah,
end of
yeah.
that
It's the
race.
last race of that, wasn't
Um,
it?
yeah, and it needed to be that way. And I think it was shocking because there were people who were gasping at that in the
Yeah,
theater.
yeah,
A woman behind me, she said, "Is
yeah,
this based on a true story?" And it's like, well, yes, it is.
yeah,
Because they're used to the Netflix Drive to Survive
yeah,
nonsense, and
yeah,
suddenly there's reality hitting you in the face.
yeah.
Not this stuff. So it's also worth mentioning that there was a Mercedes fan that walked out in the middle of this, which I absolutely adored. So I almost
Oh,
opened the door for him and escorted him out.
you can just see
So
that at Silverstone when they're not winning the race and he leaves them lap 34.
yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, yeah. He's so never give in, man. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. We'll talk about our love or not so much of Mercedes another time.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so it's nine prancing horses for you, and it's eight
Yeah,
prancing horses for me, which is probably more of a what is this? I guess Michael and Felipe, kind of vibe there.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, definitely go with that.
great.
Well, there we go. That's our first podfast. So I hope you enjoyed it. We have many more to come. We'd just like to thank our partners, SFC Cork Ireland, who are great club in Ireland.
Mhm.
Really good to join. Lots of events there, freebies, great goodies.
Did it say
Lots
free
of
beers
freebies, freebies, freebies. Well, I'll ask Don, the
or free
president.
Guinness?
I'm sure if you go over there, he'll buy you one. He's a good guy. So thanks for those guys who have supported us, and lots of their club members are part of the group for the podfast. And the video will be on YouTube, which would be
It
great.
will be on YouTube, and
Also,
will be on other socials.
there'll
Yeah,
be on other platforms. There'll be parts on Facebook, and obviously, please follow us on Instagram, Modena to Maranello. So thanks again for watching and listening, and we've got
absolutely.
loads
Thank
more to
you.
come.
Thanks for tuning in and watching. As Paul said, we've got some exciting things coming up, and we are going to be on YouTube with this and other social platforms with some links to the entire podcast. So Paul's got some exciting things coming up. He'll be at Autosport next weekend. So he's got some
This
cool
Saturday, can't
things to be
wait.
doing there. Absolutely. He's got some exciting things lined up for the channel there. I've got an exciting trip next month, there's a few other things, exciting things going on there too. So stay tuned for all of this and a ton more. And any comments you have, good or bad, it's all good. Please put them below or email us, and we will probably ignore them, to be honest, but it'll be good to read them and have a laugh. So anyway, until then, thank you so much for watching.
Cheers, guys.
It is a lot of fun doing this, and that's what it's
Yeah,
all about. So
yeah.
great stuff. And until the next one, Forza Ferrari.
Forza Ferrari.
Ciao.